Hello everyone, it's Sherry. Welcome to my channel. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody is happy and living their best life. So today I am going to use my scraps again, and I'm just going to make some little notebooks. And I've done these before in the past, and I really enjoy doing them. And it's not anything new. It's been out there, but I do kind of add my own little twist, I guess you could say. And so I just grabbed a little 6x6 notepad here, and I just pulled out a sheet that I thought I could use, and decided that I wanted to make 3 of them, because whenever I do this, it does put a nice little dent in my scraps, and I don't know, it kind of makes me feel accomplished, like I'm getting my scraps taken care of to some extent. So I'm just going to cut these papers down to 3x6, and I have pulled out my my little Ziploc bags that you guys have seen in the past of my scraps, and these are like my neutral scraps and my blank scraps and my ledger scraps and just scraps, But what I wanted to do was kind of do something a little different, and typically whenever I do it, you kind of just use the same papers, same size, same, just the length and width and all that. But I thought, well, I'll go ahead and trim some of these down, and the ones that are not the right length, I'll just, patch them together. So right now I'm just kind of going through, and I'm trying to pick out ones that are that I'm not going to patch, ones that I don't have to patch together, because I kind of wanted a mix. I wanted some that were all the same and then some that were patched. So that's what I'm doing, just kind of ruffling through my scraps. And so now I'm going to start patching my pieces together. And what I do is just so you know, this isn't a tutorial, I'm just kind of showing you my process. I'm just going to go ahead and glue the pieces together, and then I'm going to stitch them together. So I'm just showing you how I do it, and I'm not like really thinking too much about it. I'm just wanting, because they're scraps, so it's not like it has to be super perfect or real matchy. These little notebooks that I'm making, they're going to be really shabby, and I don't know, they're fun, and they're they're not like, I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say. They're not like a pristine notebook or whatever. They're just little fun, pretty, little extra things, that you can use to clean up some scraps with and use in journaling. So I just glued down a tea dye paper and then 2 ledger papers there. And I didn't know, I didn't have like in mind how many I was going to do. I was basically just going to play with them until I felt like I had enough, and then move on from there to the next step. And this will be a 2-part video, so this is the first part, and then the second part I'll probably just post it whenever I post the first part, so you can watch one and then the other one if you want to, or if you want to watch one now and one later, you have that option too. So yeah, so you're just gonna see me go through and patch some pages together, and then trim them down a little bit. If need be, straighten them up, if need be. And like I said, these are lots of fun to do, and you really do like, because you have like that skinny piece there. It's like, okay, well, typically, what are you going to do with that? But if you add it onto something, then it has a new purpose, and it's going to get used. So I like it because it kind of, you know, sometimes when you save scraps, you're like, oh man, am I really going to use this? But at the same time, you don't want to let it go, because what if you do need it? So I'm just kind of using those old man pieces, and it's a good feeling. It's kind of like cleaning out your junk drawer, you know, when it just gets to be to where you're like, all right, I got to do something with this. So yeah, so I'm kind of cleaning out my junk drawer a little bit here, and it's all various pieces. Like that one piece there is just a scrap from a game pad, Yahtzee. And I'm just going to throw it in there. So these little notebooks, they have a lot of character because they're, you know, a little bit of everything. And I really tried to, when making these books, just use in all aspects of them, mainly scrap pieces. And yeah, and I did, and I really like that. So that's just a more ledger. And even if like my pieces, like some of them they're like where I printed but it messed up, and I printed on them again and again, you know, and just to try to see something, but the one side might be blank, but the other side has like crazy printing stuff on it. I'm still like using those as well. And other, like that piece there is what I'm referring to. Like that side has like a space where obviously you can write on, but on the back side it's like a messed up print job thing. So, but I kept it. And when I kept it, I was like, am I really going to use this? But I eventually did, so I'm glad that I kept it. So yeah, so I'm just, you know, they're all various pieces. They're real vintage ledger and printable paper and tea-dyed paper and notebook paper and just all kinds of fun stuff. So I don't know if I'm going to chat through this whole thing, or there'll be some areas where I'm not chatty and you can just watch, and other areas where I probably will chat. Like this piece here, I really liked it a lot because I'm using 3 different pieces, and one of them was, you know, a smaller piece, and I just put them all together and trimmed them down to be the length that I needed it to be, and yeah, it's cute. And then the leftover piece had enough for me to add something else to it, so it works. So I'm just, you know, looking for another little thing to go there, and I do have some ledger that has some vintage ledger. It might be antique actually, that has a little bit of writing on it, but I even like that look because, you know, gives it extra character. And these little pieces you can, like, you know, rip one off and use it as like a little journaling card if you want, or the little notebooks can just be for a couple of different stories, or I mean, there's all kinds of uses for them, so it works. So I'm just going to continue patching these pages together, and like I said, I'm not doing all patch pages. I'm doing a mix of like just regular blank solid pages and some patch pages. And I don't have an idea in my head on how many I'm going to do. I'm just basically working through my scraps, and once I kind of felt like I had used enough of my scraps is basically when I stopped. And I wasn't sure if I was going to use all the pieces for the notepad, or if I would save some for later, and then I'd already have some that were patched and ready to go the next time I decide to make a notebook, or if I would use all of them. So yeah, so I've got 2 ledger pieces there. I've got like a vintage one that's kind of more modern vintage, and then that little piece on the right is actually a piece from a railroad ledger book. So now I'm just going to go ahead and make my 3 little piles, and I'm trying to do a nice variety of like tea-dyed, and then like more of a white color paper, and more ledger paper and printer paper color-wise, and and all that. And then I'm just gonna break up my 3 piles of patch pages as well. And I think each little pile got 3 patch pages and I think 6 like regular plain pages. So now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm not doing anything fancy. I'm literally just stitching them together. And if you don't have a sewing machine, you can obviously use glue. Typically when I sew, I like to use a glue stick because it's a little easier on my machine and it doesn't gunk up my needle quite so much. And yeah, so like I'm just gonna stitch these through, and I really like how they look. Like they're just, I don't know, they're just super cute and they look inviting to journal on, and that's kind of like the goal, you know. They've got a lot of character and they look like they would be fun to use. So I'm just kind of putting them back in the pile and trimming up the threads, and then I kind of go through these little piles quite a bit to determine like what order I want them to be in. So now I pulled down my little cup of like strips, like branding strips, and then if I have like just, you know, a long skinny strip of scrapbook paper, then I put it in that cup. So they're scraps as well. So now I'm just going to go through and I'm just going to decorate not every single page, but a few of the pages in these little notebooks. And I'm just pulling out some pieces that I like the look of, that I thought may go well with the patched pages. And I'm also going to use my stamps and some little bits of lace. So this first page, I'm just going to glue one of those strips down, and I'm using art glitter glue, and I like that glue a lot if I'm not going to sew, because it's really a good sturdy glue. There are some things I don't like about it, like if you use a bunch of it, it kind of crinkles your paper a little bit because of the moisture, but I do like it. I like it a lot. It's very sturdy. And then I had, you know, like I said, I'm just going to be using scraps. So I had a scrap piece of lace, and I'm going to put that on the bottom of one piece as well. And like I said, I'm not decorating every page. I'm just going to add little bits here and there to the pages. And then I pulled out my trusty little stamps. That these are the ones that I use the most. They're Citrus Twist. I've showed them before, and they're just like word phrases, and they're real tiny. I think they're for like pocket pages, like, you know, Project Life type stuff. And I just love them. I love them so much. And I bought them years ago, and they're the ones that I use the most. I should probably buy new ones because I haven't bought any in a while, but I don't know, they work. And then you just saw me stamp that little floral down, and that floral is from Stampin' Up. And then yeah, so I'm just adding these little strips to some of the pages, and I'm going to stamp some of the pages and add some lace to some of the pages. So this one I decided to stitch just to give it a little extra character and a more finished look, I guess you could say. It's really pretty. I liked how this one turned out, this particular piece. And obviously that is just a little scrap of avocado dyed paper. So when I was stamping, I really wanted to use a lighter color, but I was afraid that it wouldn't show very well, so I went with my black, and the stamping just said, "You inspire me every day." So I kind of put little things down that are like little journaling prompts too, which, you know, either can or can't be used. And then this was just like a little printable linen that I had laying around. I had a couple that were just kind of small and laying around, so I decided to use them. And I really liked that piece, but I kind of felt like it needed just a little something underneath it. So I just pulled out my little jar of, it's like just little bits, scraps, little bits of lace and whatnot in there. And I'm just going to put just a little piece of something for it to rest on, just to give it a little extra character and make it a little prettier. And I think it was a little piece of like a crochet doily. I hope you guys can excuse my voice. It's, you know, early morning. It's actually 5 o'clock in the morning right now. And the kids are home from school, and yeah, the animals are quiet right now, so the house is quiet, so it's time to do a voiceover. So I'm just kind of looking at what I've done, and I kind of wanted to make sure that I did basically the same to all three of them, you know, same elements. And when I was stamping, it didn't occur to me until later on that the second part of what I'm going to do is going to cover some of my stamping if I stamp at the top. So I had to kind of bring my stamps down, and I don't even know if I brought the stamps down far enough, but it's okay. Either way, it works. Whether you can see the stamp or you can't, it still works. So this one, I just put another little scrap of scrapbook paper, and I'm going to pull out a little piece of lace and stick that on there. And I really like how this one looked. And I mean, there's not much to it, obviously, you know. It's a scrap piece of paper, or a piece of scrapbook paper, and a piece of lace, but it's pretty and I like it. It kind of says, write a story on me, tell me something. So that's the first one, and I wanted to make sure that it was going to flip with the firmness of the scrapbook paper, because I have done them before where I've tried to use like collage my pieces on like a book page, but then the notebook paper itself becomes a little bit too stiff, you know. It's not quite as flappy, and I wanted it to be flappy, so it worked. So I pulled this one down, and I realized that it wasn't long enough, and I just went ahead and added, and that happened a couple of times, that when I pulled it down, I realized it wasn't quite long enough, because once you put it on your scrapbook paper for the back, and then you put your next piece over top on the front, which is in part 2, it covers excuse me, it covers that top part, so it makes your paper itself shorter. So I was like, well, let me just go ahead and add a little piece on the top, just so it won't be quite so short. And so I'm just going to keep, like I put a piece of lace on the bottom on the first one, so I'm just kind of going through and basically doing the same thing in the second booklet or notepad. I don't know if it would be a booklet or a notepad. I guess a notepad would be the better term. And then this is another little linen that I had, but it wasn't working for that page. So I just took out my stamps again, and I had this cute little floral, and I was afraid that the I really wanted to use the lighter color, but I was afraid that it wouldn't show up very well. So I used my VersaFine, and it stamped great. But I didn't like, once I did it, I didn't like the way that it looked on the bottom. I liked it along the side, but I didn't like it on the bottom. So I was like, well, I'm just going to go ahead and cover this up. So I just grabbed me a little scrap piece of fabric and chopped it up to the piece that I wanted. And put that down with another little scrap piece of crocheted lace, I guess, or doily or something. It's crocheted, I know that much. And those are my favorite, the little crocheted laces. They're so cute. I just love them so much. I wish I could do them. Like, I can crochet a little bit, but I don't know how to do the really tiny ones. So, moving on, I'm gonna glue this down, and I'm not gonna stitch it. That is just, a piece of vintage graph paper. And I'm not even really it all flows together. It's all very shabby and flows, but it's not like it's perfectly in the same, color family or theme or whatever, because it's not supposed to be. It's very eclectic. So I'm just looking for a stamp. And I don't even know. I can't see what that says. I'm sorry. I can't see it. Maybe you guys can see it, because I'm watching this on my little phone. So there's that little linen, and I did want to use it because I've had it for a while. And I was like, well, I'll just go ahead and stick this on there, and it can just be a little decoration piece. So I glued it down, and then I added a little piece of lace on the top. And I thought, well, that works. And then, I don't know if I can see that one either. It says dreams. And then this is that, that patch little piece. And I just stuck another branding scrap piece of paper on there. And I like the colors. I liked how that color strip kind of matched the green of the ledger there. So now my second one's done. And these little things, they're not, well, at least for me, but I'm very slow. It's not like you can get them done super fast, especially if you're patching them. Maybe if you're not patching them, you can get them done pretty quick. But if you're patching your little pieces together to make big pieces, then it does kind of take a little bit of time. So now we're on to the third one. And I'm just doing the same thing. I'm going to add my little strip of scrapbook paper, and I'm going to stamp this. And that one actually turned out pretty good. And it's a really pretty stamp. And same thing here. I felt like this one was a little bit too short, so I just wanted to give it a top. Just make it a little bit longer. And I'm just going to put some more of that fabric down and another piece of that crocheted lace doily, whatever it was. And I really like how that looked. Like, that combo was really I don't know, I just liked it. It's really pretty. And then I go ahead and I stitch it all down because I don't want it to come up when you go to use it. I wanted to make sure that it was good and stuck down. So yeah, so you guys will have to let me know if you make these before, if you have made them before, or if you've never made them but you're going to try them now, or and what you think. Well, what do you think about them? They're really fun. But like I said, they do take a little bit of time. So that was just the cutoff from that linen that I used. And I was like, well, I'll go ahead and use this little piece too. But I didn't want to just stick it down. I felt like it needed just a little pop of extra color there. And so I'm going to use this really skinny piece that I think was probably one of those pieces that I went, do I really need to save this? But I did. And I'm glad I did. Because it does have a home. Right here on this little piece of paper. Go figure. So then, yeah, I just put that down, but then I felt like it just needed a little something else. And I think this little piece here actually ends up being my favorite out of all of them. Like, I don't know, I just like the way that it looked a lot. Just put that little lace and put a little something underneath it to make it pop out a little bit more. And excuse me. And then I kind of put it like at an angle, and then I just stitched it on there with my sewing machine at an angle as well. And I don't know, it turned out good. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I hope you guys can see these. If you can't see the detail, please let me know so that in the future I can make sure that I bring it up to the camera closer so you can get a good look at it. But I just, I feel like sometimes when you're watching videos like this, if you're on your phone, you might not be able to see it, but if you're watching it on your computer, then it's like right there in your face, if you're on a bigger screen. So now I'm going to do a little bit more stamping, and this says grateful. And like I said, I don't even know, honestly, if I brought it down far enough, because I know on some of them you can see the stamps, but some of them you can't. Once the project is completed, that is. But yeah, that little thing just says grateful, and then it says 1, 2, 3. So it's kind of like a little journaling prompt. Then I'm just going to give it a little extra character with some lace that I couldn't tell which way was up or down on. And stitch that down. And so because it was so white and even the stamping was light, I wanted to just give it a little pop of color. So I had this little wad of thread floss, and I was like, well, let me just go ahead and stitch a little lazy daisy in here. And I'm definitely new to doing embroidery, so I'm very fumbly stitch lazy daisy, but it turned out pretty good, and it added just a little pop of color that I felt like that little page needed. And I was really pleased with the result. And then I also put like a little, I don't know if I put that part in here, but I added like just a little, there we go. Yeah, I did. you know, like a little dot, a little French knot in the middle of a lazy daisy. So I was using some scrap thread too, so that made me feel good. I was proud of myself. But yeah, so it works. So now I'm just going to go through and make sure all my pages are in the order and way that I want them. And then I'm going to start on the second part. So this is the first part and then the second part. So I hope you guys join me for part 2. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I really hope that you guys have a blessed day. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.